What makes a hero different from every other person who gets superpowers? Is it the radiation, the ancient artifact, or the genius tech? Absolutely not. For the greatest heroes, it's not the power they gain, but the choice they make. And for Peter Parker, that choice was a moment of profound selfishness that would doom the only father figure he had left. Today, we're swinging up into the history of the one, the only, Spider-Man, and breaking down how tragedy forced him to become the most relatable and resilient hero in the Marvel Universe. Welcome back to another episode of Marvel Echoes Resonance, where we go beyond simple trivia and explore how the origins of these iconic characters become the foundation of their entire legacy. And today, we're talking about the guy who anchors the entire Marvel Universe, Spider-Man. We've covered John Walker, the man who desperately chose power without principles, but Peter Parker's origin is a direct inverse of that. It's the story of a man who was handed great power, but was then tragically forced into accepting responsibility. Now let's go back to Amazing Fantasy number 15 from 1962, courtesy of the legendary Stan Lee and Steve Ditko. Before Peter Parker, most teenage heroes were sidekicks. Think Bucky, Robin, Kid Flash. They were accessories to the main event. Stan Lee wanted to create a character that teens could actually see themselves in. A kid who had to deal with school, bullies, making money, and, well, girl troubles. Peter Parker was the ultimate underdog, orphaned, raised by his gentle Aunt May and Uncle Ben in Queens, and a scientific whiz who got picked on in high school. He was essentially a classic geek, and as a fellow classic geek who grew up watching, G.I. Joe, X-Men, other cartoons, I can tell you that relates very much to the secret weapon that made Spider-Man an instant success. If you were reading this comic, you probably were Peter Parker. The transformation itself is iconic. A trip to a science exhibition, a radioactive spider bite, and suddenly, Peter had the proportional strength and agility of an arachnid, along with those pesky spider sense to warn him of danger. But here's the crucial part that people often skip over. Peter initially used the power for one reason: personal gain. He didn't rush out to save the city, he didn't consult a mentor because, unlike every other hero before him, he didn't have one. He became a masked wrestler star seeking fame and money. He was arrogant and selfish. Now we get to the pivotal moment, the narrative event that creates the echo we study in this show. One night, a burglar runs past Peter as he's leaving the wrestling studio. Peter, in a moment of sheer self-centered indifference, lets a criminal run by saying, "That's a cop's job, not my problem." He had the power, but he made the choice to stand down. Days later, tragedy strikes. Peter returns home to find that a burglar has murdered his Uncle Ben. Peter, devastated and furious, uses his powers to track down the killer to a warehouse, and, in that warehouse, he has the single most horrifying realization of his life. The murderer is the same man he let run past him at the wrestling studio. The guilt complex, the realization that his inaction, his failure to use his power when it didn't benefit him, had directly led to the death of the man who raised him. This is the moment Peter Parker stops being a self-interested teenager and becomes a hero. He takes the words he heard from Uncle Ben, "With great power, there must also come great responsibility," and locks them into the core of his identity. This isn't a story of a hero being born, it's a story of a hero being forged in the fire of personal guilt, grief, and catastrophic mistakes. That's the engine that drives Spider-Man. The tireless determination to prevent others from experiencing the same pain he endured. He constantly questions his choices and whether he's doing enough. That's what makes him a modern myth, as resonant as any hero from the Lord of the Rings. So that's a classic origin. But Spider-Man has been swinging for decades. How have these pivotal moments continued to echo through his life? The ongoing theme of Peter Parker is that he is the universe's punching bag. He is meant to struggle because that struggle makes him more relatable. To keep him in that state, writers have introduced two massive narrative shifts I think you should know about. The first one, if you're a longtime fan, you may remember One More Day back in 2007. This is a crucial piece of lore that fits right into the theme of historical context and retcons. For years, Peter was married to Mary Jane. His secret identity had been revealed in the aftermath of the Civil War. Aunt May was shot by a sniper. To save her life, Peter and MJ made a controversial deal with the demon Mephisto. In exchange for Aunt May's life, the demon erased their marriage from existence and restored Peter's secret identity. Now, whether you love it or hate it, the narrative echo here is clear. It's the ultimate expression of Peter's sacrifice. He traded his greatest personal happiness, his marriage and his life with MJ, to save his greatest responsibility, Aunt May. In this cosmic sacrifice to reset the character to that perpetual state of down on his luck struggle that Stan Lee always intended. The second was in 2011. We saw the definitive proof that the mantle of Spider-Man is greater than Peter Parker himself, with the introduction of Miles Morales. Created in the Ultimate Universe, Miles took over the role after that reality's Peter died. His popularity led him to the main Marvel Universe, and he is now a major player after the Secret Wars event. The narrative echo here is beautiful. Miles' origin story is a direct reflection of Peter's, but expands that meaning. Miles has the same powers, but the choice to be Spider-Man is what binds him to Peter's legacy. It's the ultimate proof that Spider-Man we see is forged by choice, not genetics or magic. It's like seeing a new generation of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles take up the fight. The spirit of the original is carried forward, proving the message is timeless. So after all that classic stuff, where is our favorite webhead in the current From the Ashes era? Well, as a longtime fan, I can tell you the sun never shines on Peter Parker for too long. In April 2025, The Amazing Spider-Man relaunched with a new creative team. And what is Peter's status quo? He's job hunting again. That's right. The great equalizer is back. He's broke, he's struggling, and he's dealing with the return of classic foes like Rhino. The only major shift is that Peter's former archenemy, Norman Osborn, has currently redeemed and completely goblin-free, which is a wild role reversal for the guy who killed Gwen Stacy. Peter also has a new girlfriend named Shay. And just to tie it all together, look out for the new limited series, Radioactive Spider-Man, coming out in October of 2025. That title alone tells you everything you need to know about his roots. In the current line-wide status quo, Peter is exactly where he always belongs, on the streets, struggling to pay his bills, fighting the good fight, and carrying the burden of that one tragic choice he made decades ago. So the character of Spider-Man is perpetually defined by the tragedy and resilience. The comics constantly strip away his happiness, his stability, and his relationships, all to maintain that key element of relatability. Peter Parker is the most powerful person on Earth who still worries about getting fired. So I'll leave you with this question. Do you think Peter Parker should ever be allowed to find lasting, permanent happiness and stability in the comics? Or does his identity fundamentally depend on him being the struggling everyman? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for listening to this episode of Marvel Echoes. I hope you enjoyed this deep dive into the unbreakable heart of Spider-Man. If you enjoyed this, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any more of our daily episodes. Leaving a comment and a like also really help the channel grow, and let us know what you would like us to cover next. And for more content, including full deep dives and new reader guides, make sure you check out the links in the description below. Until next time, true believers, make mine Marvel.